Hail and well met, 'tis I Bard, pronouns they, them, and she, her, welcoming you once again to the Mad Realm. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking about something that's a little bit personal to everyone within this hobby and art sphere, and that is what I like to call the pile of opportunity, but is more colloquially known as the pile of shame, and how you and I might be able to tackle it. So, without further ado, let's take it to the desk. So, due to the heavy topic of today's video, if you as an audience member feel uncomfortable at any point, please feel free to click off and go to another video. I have plenty of videos on this channel that are already posted and will be upcoming that are a lot less heavy and focus more on world building, or in our case, how to paint things, color theory, so on and so forth. But as we are getting closer to the buying season, I thought that it was very appropriate to bring this to light, especially as we as artists begin to hunker down into the colder winter season and get ready to do everything we can with our snowed in days. But yeah, I'm just speaking from the ground level. I'm not a trained professional in psychology or anything. I just have training in art, history, and sociology. So I can explain some things in the history of it, but I can't go into the psychology that'd be good for the personal individual. So if you or someone that you know is dealing very hard with something of this sort, please just consult a professional. I am not a professional at all. I've only taken one psychology course in high school, so I have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about. Please, go seek professional help if you would like to. But, without further ado, let's start to get into that nebulous yet ever-present topic that weighs heavy on the miniature community. That is the pile of opportunity, or as it is more commonly known, the pile of shame. The concept of a pile of shame is a bit of an odd one when it comes to the art sphere. Our form of art, miniatures, takes up an odd space, right? A lot of other art, even if it is three-dimensional, can be stored fairly neatly. If you work in sculpture, you have a similar conception of what I talk about when I talk about a pile of shame. It is just a presence of materials that take up space, that you have ideas for, that you know what you want to do, but haven't actually had the time. Now, a lot of people think that a pile of shame in the miniature community is just unbuilt minis, or minis that have been built but that haven't been painted. And whilst yes, that is oftentimes the case, it also includes projects that you might just go, I got distracted, I got bored, something new came up, you were really invested into a project, then you just lost it, a whole bunch of stuff. Whatever the reason is, it is just projects that you haven't yet started, or projects that you have not yet finished. And that can be any level of done, because finished is, after all, up to you as the artist. And when you examine the pile of shame, it is something that we as miniature artists need to reconcile with, because it takes up space, whether it is minis still on the sprue, fully assembled, or just, there. It's always there. And I want to start to examine some aspects of that. So, the first thing that I'm going to examine is the concept of quote-unquote plastic crack, which, mind you, plastic crack is when I think about the term, it's a bit insensitive to persons that are actually afflicted by crack addiction. We just say it because, it feels that powerful and that addictive, but, it's not killing us slowly. Yeah. But for us, the quote unquote plastic crack is more akin to a shopping addiction. Which, a shopping addiction, if you didn't know, is anybody who goes out and buys things just to buy things. It's the euphoria of going out and spending money, or of having something new or old, just having something, getting something. I myself somewhat have that. It's a trait that I picked up from my family in poor financial decisions, where I think, ooh, I like that. I can do something with that. I want this and I want that. And then I would just get it. And I still somewhat do that, but have started to hone myself in, because it can be a very big financial burden. It can be a thing where when you know you have to save up for something, when you know you need to pay a bill, or you need to get gas or food or anything else, that urge in the back of your mind going, yeah, I can find the money somewhere else. I can ask someone. I'll just get this. It's small. And then that small bit, that, in our case, maybe that character. Oh, well, if I get that character, I need to have a cool unit to go with it. So I'll pick up that unit. And well, if I do that, then I need this. And you slowly start to accumulate it until you have an army or two, or a bunch of war bands that you have to work with. And you begin to say, how the hell did I get all of this? What was I even thinking with this? That is how the pile of shame starts. That's generally how it does. And whether or not you do get that euphoria from buying something just to buy it, or you have these grand plans that never follow through, that's how it always starts. I think we can all relate to seeing a new release, especially with a very predatory business model like the miniatures hobby. I'm looking at you, GW, and going, ooh, what if I just halt this one project and start something new? And so the pile grows and grows and grows, and we start to feel shame about it. Hence the pile of shame. And it's not so much a external thing, but more of an internal thing. We look at it and we say, I am failing myself as an artist. Other people might go, wow, that's a lot of stuff, and see it as a form of hoarding, which it somewhat is, but there are the plans for it. It's not a sentimental attachment. It's more of a, how do I best put this? Opportunity, right? It is the opportunity to do that tantalizes us. Hence why I call it a pile of opportunity. It is being able to look at something and say, ooh, I know how to paint that. I know what I would do. And just indulging in that. And companies like Games Workshop, which still produces the best miniatures and has apparently the least predatory game model for business owners, which is a hell of a thing to think about, right? But, it makes sense. Anyway, but for companies like Games Workshop, which every single week have something new going on pre-order and creating such a bloat that their factories simply cannot keep up with production, hence why everything is out of stock, it is tremendously terrifying to think about. And when you are in a state of mind that goes, I want something new, I can paint that, ooh, what's that? It's something new, it's something shiny. Every single week on Warcom, when they say, this week's pre-orders, it is not about, oh, what happened this week? How can you do this? Here are some tips. It's always, here's something new you're going to want to buy. And they do it every single week, every single day. They entice people. And if you are suffering from that shopping addiction, then you will fall into the trap. I have. You probably have. Everyone has, right? Because it's predatory. They know what they're doing. And by knowing what they're doing, we can make steps towards distancing ourselves from that model. Whether it is like a physical model or the game model of predatory companies. An aspect of this is sponsorships. Everything is an advertisement. Everyone's trying to sell you something. No longer are the days of salesmen going door to door. There are the ads that follow along your search history. The cookies, as they're innocently named, looking for whatever you want. There are content creators, influencers, who are pushing products that they are given for free so that you can try and buy them. There are content creator programs that are meant to entice people to spending hundreds of dollars on stuff. And even when it is an honest sponsorship, and the companies do give creators stuff for free, and say, give this an honest review, there is still bias. Because the person is getting it for free. They are being recognized for their influence. And so as a bit of a, back scratch, I scratch your back, you scratch mine, there will be some bias involved. That is not to say that persons who do get sponsorships are soulless capitalists, because we all have to survive in the world somehow, hence Raid Shadow Legends. But that's just the thing to keep in mind. Yeah, everything's trying to be sold to you at all times. Furthermore, there's the idea that in order for you to properly play the game, or for you to have a proper army or something, you need to have X, Y, and Z included in your army. You need to have these cards, you need to have these dice, you need to have this and that, when there are plenty of substitutes that you can find on the cheap and easy. Remember, a lot of this stuff is premiums. You get dice so that they fit a character or an army or your personal preferences. You don't need to go all out just every single time, right? You can work with what you have. There's nothing wrong with that. It's okay to use the stuff you already have. It's okay to say, I'm using this and it counts as that. Or, I am going to be using this in this other system because it's all I have. Right? It's okay for that. And anyone who shames you on that is an ass. Let people play the game how they want to play it, with what they want to play. And if you don't agree with how they play it or what they use to play it, then go find the group that works for you. That's a big philosophy of mine. This is your art, this is your hobby, this is your game. Do it how you want it. Furthermore, as a source of escapism, our pile of opportunity/shame tends to grow very quickly. In the hellish state of the world, we're always looking for sources of enjoyment, that little bit of euphoria, that little bit of a kick that keeps us from just becoming dull and slowing down. And when we see something that we want, then we'll get it to try and get that joy. And before we can actually create and actualize our dreams, something pops up. You have to do this, you have to do that, you have to go to work, you have to drive 4 hours to go to this one place. You can't just have a moment to yourself to do what you want. And that is a sad state of the world, that we have become so enamored with work and a busy culture. We always have to keep busy, that we can't just sit down and say, I am going to accomplish something for myself. So if you, like me, have also had that experience, don't worry. That part of this issue within the hobby isn't fully your fault. In fact, it's not really your fault. It's not your fault at all. You're influenced by everything around you. The world is hell, so why not try and find a little slice of heaven? Even if that little slice of heaven costs you $30, you know? It's selling you joy. And though it is screwed up, we all do it. I do it. There's nothing wrong with doing it. As long as you're able to be happy. Why not? And that's one of the biggest questions that we always ask ourselves. And that grows the pile. And the unfortunate truth of the matter is that we probably won't have time. Which is why you might have to start to think, what do I truly want to do? If there are projects that you don't want to do, give it to someone, sell it. Do whatever it takes. Reduce that pile. Especially since we are ultimately collectors. And if something in your collection doesn't spark as much joy, or you really say, do I play this? Do I enjoy it? And the answer is not an enthusiastic or constant yes, or you feel a twinge of regret that lingers if in your head you say no, and it might be time to get rid of it. And I say this not from any sense of authority. As I said, I have no professional experience, only ground experience. Thus, if you say to yourself, this is good advice, I'm going to sell everything, that might not be the best. You know, I once sold an entire collection of Magic the Gathering cards that I had collected over years and had been given gifts for. And I bought it all for D&D minis, and guess what? It's been near a decade. I don't have those D&D minis anymore, and I still regret selling those cards. So don't go to the extreme. Just as the pile of opportunity / pile of shame is an extreme, giving everything away leaves you with nothing but regret at how much you had spent, how much time you had invested, and nothing to show for it. A middle ground can exist. Look at the things in your collection that you might not want and think about, well and truly, do you need it to play the game you play? Do you enjoy seeing it? Do you have plans that you can execute and well and truly want to invest the time in and do it? And if you say no to those questions, then, keep them. Or if you say yes, maybe give them away. It all depends. It's up to you as the individual to think that. I can't tell you what to think. It would be wrong to tell you what to think. This is all a matter of your individual works. I know I'm going to be doing it and figuring out whom to give stuff to, what to sell, and all of that, because I know that there's going to be people who enjoy it more. Because in this hobby, investing in one another is one of the greatest things you can do. We invest our time into one another. We invest our dice and our miniatures into one another to play games, to create art. So why not pay it forward? Especially if there's someone who doesn't have as much money as you and who needs this stuff, who wants this stuff, but might not be able to get it. Just a bit of charity work to think about. And once again, as a final note, I am not a professional. I'm just speaking to you from the ground level. I don't want you to think what I'm saying is the gospel, only that maybe there's something to take into consideration. Hell, I don't even have 1,000 subscribers, and I'm speaking about a topic that is very heavy. But, it needs to be said. So, go about your journey how you will. I know I'm going to be walking in, now that I do have a space at school to do art, and the time to do art. Now that I don't have to do as much stuff, and am able to start spreading my wings, I'm going to be walking in. That might work for you, it might not work for you. That's up to you. But always remember one thing. You are not alone. I have seen countless videos on YouTube talking about the pile of shame. People showing the pile of shame, how it just keeps growing. Games about how you can reduce your pile of shame, all this and that, but nothing is more poignant than actually talking to real people in your community and asking them, what do they do to reduce their pile of opportunity, their pile of shame, as it were? And can you perhaps establish a goal for one another? You know, one of the biggest ways I finish miniatures is by taking it down to my friendly local game store and painting in front of other people, engaging with that. And we build off of one another. So that might be something to take in consideration as well. And furthermore, as one final bit, when you're looking at a miniature, or you see an ad for a miniature, ask yourself one question. Do I truly need it? And with that, may chaos reign. And please, paint your plastics. Bye-bye.